Hello and welcome to the Old Man Orange podcast. I'm Spencer Scott Holmes.
And I'm Ryan Dunigan.
And today, I'm now the proud owner of a sauna.
A sauna?
Yeah, there's a guy who's like the yoga instructor at the gym. And he's all, hey Spencer, you want a free sauna? I paused for a second. I was like, people don't just give out saunas. It really confused me. No, because he called it a portable sauna. So in my mind, I'm like, what the fuck is a portable? Did you like blow it up like an inflatable like pool or something?
It's like a bounce house, but it's a sauna?
Like, what the fuck is a portable sauna? And then so I was like, well, sure. So I came by and got it today. And I was like, oh, well, it's a fucking just regular sauna. I guess what a portable sauna is just something that like is not built inside that building. It's like you'd buy it. It's kind of like a hot tub, I guess, and you just set it up wherever you want.
Okay.
It's just kind of, in a sense, I mean, it's 4 walls, a floor. It's got a CD player in it.
That's all sorts of fancy.
It's got infrared heating.
He said CD player. I'm like, it's all sorts of fancy. Oh my!
And I was like, oh god, a CD player.
I just, when I think sauna, even
Honey,
though...
we're fucking rich.
No, when I think sauna, I mean, I know that
CD
technology...
nicer than like the CD or like the tape deck in my car.
Yeah, well, I'm kind of like, when I think sauna, I just think kind of like, I know technology has changed since then, but I think kind of like wooden Japanese room, steamy rocks.
Yeah.
That's as far as we've gotten with the sauna. That's, even though I know for a fact it's changed. I've been in other saunas like that, but I still think that whenever I think sauna.
Well, I'm gonna try to figure out how can I get steamy rocks inside my sauna now.
Mm-hmm.
But it's got like the infrared heaters on it, so and somebody said like these heat up pretty fast. I'm like, oh okay. I don't know what that's like. I can't tell you.
So he just gave it to you?
Yeah, well, he was moving. He's like, well, it was something I got for free anyway. So if I got it for free, I can't like sell it.
I'd be a little worried because this almost seems kind of like you're gonna get a call at 4 o'clock in the morning. Spencer, I need your help. You know, like what is it? Like,
remember that sauna I gave you?
It wasn't for free. You know.
You knew this day was coming. No, I didn't.
It was like, you know, asking the Godfather for a favor on the day of his daughter's wedding.
I know exactly.
Kind of like that, maybe.
I don't know.
I'm guessing this is the hippie-ish guy. You're talking about the older, nicer hippie guy.
Yeah, he's the yoga instructor. He's got like a beard, dark hair.
Of course he does.
Yeah, of course he's got a beard. Why wouldn't he?
Yoga instructor with the beard. It's usually some like chick, you know. It's usually some old hippie chick that does a yoga instructor. But it's a dude in this case.
Yeah, it's a dude. So it's and he's one of the guys. He feels younger than he really is too. Mm-hmm. I mean, the nicest guy. His name's Bobby.
I've seen him around. I don't actually. Now I know who you're talking about.
But I had to drive my truck here to like pick that up, and for some reason, like, okay, I was driving on Mount Provo going away from the house, and I heard this like clink 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 clink. And I was like, well, what the fuck was that? So I I told Laura to get out of the car, and she went back to go pick up this like little metal piece that was like. It was probably just sitting in the back of the pickup or something like that.
Yeah.
And this guy comes up like in his yellow fucking H2 Hummer. He's like, and he's behind me, and like he can clearly see that something fell out, and they're picking up and going back, and he fucking has the balls to hit his horn. He's like, beep beep. And I just go flipping the bird. I'm like, fuck you.
Well, sounds like a story I had sent earlier this week. But sorry. Go ahead.
And then as we're driving down the road, like, because we know it's on Mount Provo, which is like, you know, a Forest Service road, so nobody's going more than like 10. 15 miles per hour.
This guy's riding your ass the whole time.
Oh, yeah, and he's like, right, pull over. I'm like, fuck you, buddy. Fuck you, you faggot. Like, shut the fuck up. Just like, it's just some old guy. It's like, what's he gonna do?
Some guy in retirement, probably.
Well, yeah, he's just some yuppie fucking douchebag who's like, oh, I'm gonna live out in the mountains now.
I hate... The thing is about the Hummers, like...
No, I think that's what makes it worse. If it was just a regular truck, you'd probably be like, oh, I'm fucking pissed. But I think since it's like, it's an H2 Hummer.
Shiny,
it's yellow,
probably no mud.
Shiny, no mud, no fucking dirt, though he's on dirt road.
I guess
I made that guy take the fucking other turn, though.
That's good.
I know. If he followed me, I'd be like, no, fuck you.
This guy, the thing about the H2 Hummers, they just piss me off. Don't ask me why. As soon as I see one of those Hummers, I'm like, fucking douchebag. And the reason is... It's just such a big car. The original Hummer. The original
Hummer's cool. It's it makes you feel like yes.
It's like there's chances are there's a Vietnamese skeleton jammed like beneath that tire right there.
Yeah, or I guess more like a Gulf War skeleton, like a Saudi Arabian person.
Yeah. It's one of those kind
covered
of
in oil too.
Yeah, it's like whenever you see some old beat up one, like that's pretty badass looking. Even if it didn't see any war action or anything, it looks pretty badass. And I can understand its purpose. If you live up in the mountains or something,
or if you're going to drive over landmines.
Yeah, I understand its purpose to a certain extent. I mean, generally, if you have it in the city, okay, maybe if that's just the car you have or somehow you ended up with that, fine. But the other ones is just like
the H2 and the H3.
They're so bright. They guzzle so much fucking gas, and they take up so much room. And they don't have any of they don't have nearly as much of power as the other ones do.
Well, the thing too is like they look
from someone
they
who
can't even. It's like you look at them. It's like nobody fucking takes those ones off road. The whole point, like the H2, was so that like the yuppies in their fucking like big ass houses can have one and feel safe. Because I mean. You've never seen somebody's like, it's like, oh yeah, where you going off-roading? My H2 Hummer. It's like, you'd see the regular ones, and I'm like, movies like Jurassic Park sold me on like, or I guess Lost World, like, I'm like, you know, like, a Hummer is badass.
Yeah, like, I'm one of those people...
But that H2 is just like, it's like, almost like somebody sat down with me and said, like, let's take everything that makes this car really badass out of it.
And pussify it.
Yeah, pussify it.
Pussify the fuck out of it. No.
And people will buy the shit out of it.
I had a similar experience, but...
And they will make the H3, because some people out there said that their H2 is a little too big to park in their garage. We'll make it a tad bit tinier.
Just a tad bit.
Just a tad bit.
Have you, this is going to be a random question. It's not going to be as epic as you think, but, have you ever gotten into a fight with someone you don't know? I'm not talking about, like, at school, but
some, like, with, like, some 60-year-old man, like, on the road?
That possibly could have led to that.
Why, did you get in a fight with some 60-year-old man?
Almost, actually. Similar to your car story reminded me of this car story right here.
Just make it out and go, you fucking Subaru driving fuck!
Yeah, pretty much. No, I'm going to say it. I'm not, because I was all talking about, if you're going to drive a Hummer, you might as well drive a real Hummer. I'm not trying to be that guy, because I'm the farthest thing from, like, a redneck or someone who goes, like, quadding and all that. I'm more someone like, I like to stay inside, it's safe in there. But it's one of those things, if you are going to drive a Hummer, at least get one with some fucking balls. Yeah, that's my opinion. But anyway,
it's something about just the H2. I don't know what it is. When I see that, it's just like...
so bright, vibrant.
It just makes you, like, angry towards this... You just see a person like, I already know I'm not going to get along with this person whatsoever. Yeah. No matter what, that's it. You can already tell from that day on. So, like, there's something going on in this guy's mind that I just can't trust. Or a woman.
Yeah. Well, this one time I was... this was about, like, probably a week ago. I wanted to tell on the podcast, but just the opportunity never popped up. I was driving through the Junction, which is this little shopping center we got. And
when I was a kid, I literally thought that was the only junction in the world. Lo and behold, every town has one. Yeah.
It's kind of like, you know, there's more than one of these. You know, it's kind of like Oblivion when you're like, there's another Tom Cruise. You know,
exactly.
And the way this, I mean, like most other shopping centers, the way it works is there's roughly two big parking lots. There's a parking lot for all the stores on the right side, a parking lot for all the stores on the left side, and then there's this road that goes down the middle.
And then there's the cool parking lot that's behind all the buildings. It's like the secret parking lot.
Yeah, there's that one, which I'm never really cool enough to go park back there, but you know. One time I walked in on, I drove in on a drug deal. Like, it's time to go the other direction.
That's okay, bound to happen.
Yeah. But anyway, so I'm driving down the center of it, and I'm just driving, and this white pickup truck pulls out about 10 feet in front of me. There's stop signs at all the pull-out sections. This guy just pulls out, whips around, almost caused me to rear-end him, and then he just keeps on driving. So I just honk my horn, and I flip him the bird.
Mm-hmm. See, so then, let's just quit. In Tuolumne County, you can get away with this. You can't really do this like in a city, it seems like. I'd be afraid to do it a little bit more in the city.
I never thought of it, but apparently you can't get away with it in Tuolumne County either. So, so we're driving, and we get to the stop sign, and I'm like, where the fuck is he going? He has tinted windows. I'm not sure if I mentioned, it's a white pickup truck. So, and I see he's looking in his rearview mirror, raising his arm, kind of bobbing, like, what? I'm like, okay, let me reiterate it for you. And I flip him off, and I hold it on it.
I love it.
And then,
fuck you, buddy!
Exactly. I'm just like, alright, maybe you didn't get it. Here it is. And then all of a sudden he gets out of his car, he's like, what? He's some, like, guy, probably late 40s, early 50s, kind of balding, mustache. I'm not trying to jump to this.
Like, my wife fucking left me today. What, man?
Well, like, here's the thing.
And you're like, I fucking see why. You pull out in front of people.
And for all I know, I'm gonna give it both sides. All right.
Mm-hmm.
I'll say this. For all I know, this guy, he had the worst day of his life, or the worst month of his life, and he fucked up, and my outburst just flipped a switch, and that could
send him over the edge.
And that, you know, maybe all his anger was directed to someone else, but he just threw it on me just because. Yeah, sure, maybe I shouldn't have honked at him and flipped him off, but he shouldn't have cut in front of me. So I'm like, okay, whatever. But now, if that's the case, feel sorry for the guy. Hope his life moves on. Other case, most likely case, meth head, old cocksucker.
Douchebag.
Yeah, douchebag. So, what happens is like, what? What the fuck you doing, man? Huh? What? He's all like, he looked like
Reiterate where the setting is. I want pictures in my mind.
This is...
Where did this, like, stop at?
This was the stop sign from the middle, so it's at that three-way intersection.
Where?
In the junction.
So so you're still there. Oh, okay, so you're still in the junction.
He went to the stop sign, and he stopped the stop sign. It wasn't moving. And he's just, like, making this hand motion.
And he got out of the car?
He got out of the car. And he's all like, what? What? You think you just, like, flip people off and do this kind of shit from the safety of your own little cocoon? You think you're gonna do that? What the fuck's wrong with you, man? You just can't go around flipping people off. And he had this look, and then, like, I say to him, what? After he's all like, why'd you flip me off? I'm like, dude, you fucking cut me off, almost caused me to rear end you, causing an accident, making you pay money I don't even want to really pay right now. Not that I even have the fucking money for it. And I'm sorry, I lost my temper, so I flipped you off. And then he's all like, then with just this look that screams, I'm sorry, Dad, life. Yeah, he's all like,
he just breaks out the ground, just like crying, like, I was gonna kill myself today. You know what? Because nobody loves me. It's just so fucking hard, so I drive like an asshole because that's my only way of taking it out.
No, he just throws his arms out, but in this kind of like, there's definitely layers to this. It's like, I fucked up! It happens! I'm not perfect! I'm like, okay.
That's the first step to it, is admitting you're a fuck up.
Says, alright, in that case, I'm sorry I flipped you off. Can you please get back in your car so I can leave?
I got nowhere else to go, man! This is it!
Then he just he was trying to find the words to say, and he just struts back to his car all pissed off, and
So that's probably what this guy wanted to do. That's probably why he wanted me to pull over. I'm like, I'm not fucking pulling over for this guy. Fuck this cocksucker.
Yeah. It's one of those things, I just, I'm not...
But again, I don't feel as safe in, the truck. It's like, I don't have my baseball bat. What if the guy's bigger than me?
It's one of those things I'm not
going to... The baseball bat's the thing that equals out, this whole thing.
It's one of those things I'm not going to try and get all, fucking macho about it. I mean, the main reason I wasn't getting on it's not like, oh, I'm scared of this guy. It was more like, I just don't... The whole fucking scene, I had shit that I had to do today. I had plays I had to be. It's not fucking worth... someone flipping you off and then, getting into a fight, not fucking worth having to get, possible hospital bills, possible lawsuit, cops driving by,
That's the
whatever.
sad thing nowadays. You couldn't just go beat the shit out of the guy for doing something stupid and then,
I mean, I wouldn't want to fight the guy anyway. I was just like, really? You're stopping the car?
Yeah, it's those ones
You're stopping traffic for this right here? That's more my attitude towards it. But.
To me, people they get in their cars and they're fucking assholes to start off with. So it's just one of those ones. To me, it's I feel like I'm such a calm driver. I feel like there's no reason to speed. There's no reason to run a stop sign. I'm like, what is the fucking point of all that? You know what I mean? Why are you in such a hurry?
I'll be honest.
Put a fucking podcast on and just enjoy the ride. That's all I have to say.
Old Man Orange podcast. If you have to choose one, yeah.
I don't know what it is. Podcast. I was thinking about this the other day too because I was listening to some music again because it feels like, I don't know, when you start listening to podcasts, you almost get to your old man stage where I was like, well, I just like my talk radio nowadays. I'm not too much into the old hippity hoppity rockety poppity. And so I put music on. I was like, you know what? I noticed you drive faster if you listen to music. If you drive podcasts, you fucking are so calm because you're like, you know what? I got an hour and a half podcast, man. Just got to get the most out of this drive.
Yeah. It is one of those things. It kind of made like driving to, because when I was taking classes at Columbia, it's about roughly a 40-minute. It's a 40-minute drive. And that's a good time. That you can
listen to a full podcast and then there and back.
Yeah, exactly. Pretty much. And it's one of those things, I'll fully admit it, there are times I did asshole things on the road when I was a younger, less experienced driver.
Well, sometimes there's two types of asshole things you do. There's the ones you do, and it's like an accident you didn't mean to do, and then there's the ones where you just don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are doing things like they don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
And that's the kind of people that's like, no, fuck you. It's like, seriously, calm the fuck down. And then, And sometimes people out there I can't.
Yeah.
It's like, that's why I hate driving, in the city. I hate Sacramento, and I hate driving in, San Francisco and Modesto, because you just get you get even more douchebags.
That's why if we end up because at the moment we're planning to take Old Man Orange to San Francisco. We'll see if that happens.
Well, see, the nice about San Francisco, though, and this it's really one of the few cities in the entire, U.S. you can get away with this, is you just don't take a fucking car. It's just not, it's the upside of San Francisco is you can walk everywhere, and you want to keep that upside by not owning a car.
Yeah.
Because the second you get a car, then it's just every problem known to mankind starts to happen. You gotta pay for parking. It's fucking hard to find a parking spot. It's the driving. There's assholes going 100 miles per hour up and down those hills.
Yeah, I'm probably more of the stance of probably get a bus pass and then a bike. So play it safe like that.
And even the bus is actually, it's like one of those ones I've always learned about the bus in San Francisco is like you can pretty much walk just as fast as the bus can take you somewhere.
Yeah.
Because it stops at like every like block just about or so. Well, maybe not that much. It stops at every handful of blocks.
I went to visit my friend Wes, and it was almost kind of like we took the bus, like, cause our friend, just to clarify, our friend Wes lives in San Francisco. I was taking the bus. It was almost kind of like, this bus is going through the ghetto and giving the people on the bus. Maybe we're safer just walking through the ghetto right now because some of the people that were on it. But I guess
you get really fucking weird people on that bus.
Of course, depends on which bus, probably which time of day and whatever.
What section of town you're in and so on.
Yeah.
But
It's one of those things. I want to say this real quick. A lot of people sometimes will tell me kind of like, oh, San Francisco is kind of a playground compared to most places like
that's why I always call it San Francisco. It's like a child's playground compared to like the dangers of other cities.
Here's the thing. I'm going to say this. It's going to make me sound like a scared white person, but this actually happened. It's one of those things. A lot of people say nothing ever happened to me in San Francisco. Nothing ever happened to me in San Francisco, and it's like me. It depends on where you go. And granted, nothing did happen to me, but a lot of shit happened around me. They kind of be like, holy shit. Like, we were cutting through, I believe it was part of the Mission District. And maybe it was Mission Street. But anyway, we were cutting through, which I assume they're in the same, like, area.
They pretty much are.
So, we're cutting through there. Within cutting through there, to get to this bus stop, there's a, like, 15-year-old Filipino kid, looks like a druggie, squatting down, taking a shit right on the sidewalk. A guy leaning up against, like, an alleyway, screaming, "If you look at me, I'll fucking kill you! Don't look at me!" Just screaming that at anybody walking by. Don't look at me! And you keep on walking. Then there's, like, a crackhead in a wheelchair just swinging and trying to punch at anybody who gets an arm's length. Then a hit and run happened while we were there, which caused someone to get out of their car and start chasing the car by foot. We then get to this
foot
bus.
chase ensued.
Yeah. Then we're waiting at the bus stop, and we're actually talking to this one old dude. He was a nice guy, but he was like counting his OxyContin and shoving it into his sock, and then like counting money. It's like, okay, whatever, you gotta do what you gotta do to survive.
Everybody has their own, hobbies.
Yeah, exactly. While still standing there for the bus stop, another car came by. I think a car rear-ended a taxi cab, and I'm not making any of this shit up. And the guy gets out, like, "You fucking grab my bitch's titty! You grab my bitch's titty, motherfucker!" I'm not making this shit up. And then the bus comes, and then we're out of there. Here's the thing. That is not a multiple trip visit. That is like
one trip.
That is like
8
5
minutes.
That's like a 5-minute walk, and then like a 3-minute wait for a bus stop. That was 8 minutes there, so it's like, Jesus Christ. Like, maybe it's just one of those things, here come these two white kids, let's amp the fuck out of it,
It's like one of those ones, like, I've only been to the Mission District, like, once when I was there, because I never saw too much of a reason to go to that section. Excluding the fact that's, like, the only place you can get Mexican food at, really.
We actually stopped at a little taqueria there, it was really good.
Yeah, because, like, I remember, like, for the longest time, I was like, dude, there's almost, like, no Mexican restaurants, and the weirdest fucking thing about it in San Francisco is you go in one, and there's 2 Asian dudes in there, and you're like, what the fuck?
I noticed that. There's a lot of Asian dudes.
And I was like, the only time you really see Mexicans, it sounds
in
weird.
Asian restaurants.
Is like, no, because the Asian restaurants still have Asians. The only time you see Mexicans is like, if a side of a building needs to be painted. I was like, where are all these Mexicans? Like, they gotta exist somewhere. It's like, is there some strange, like, creepy court of owls society that's, like, keeping them out of here? Because I was just questioning, I'm like, you almost see none. And it's like, you would think it in a Mexican restaurant. If anything, a Mexican restaurant would have it. No, just a couple Asian guys smiling at you going, how you doing?
I went to an Asian restaurant and there was actually Mexicans working there.
Oh, that's weird.
And then I went to an Asian restaurant with, like, Mexican, with vice versa, So.
My favorite one there's one called, it's on, like, Polk Street or whatever. Or no, it's on, like, Van Ness somewhere. Or I don't know, somewhere. It's called, like, London's, like, fish and chips pub and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
And it's got the big British flag and everything. You go inside, there's 2 Asian guys in there. Like, hey, how you doing? You're like, oh, no English people, I guess. Oh, okay.
Takes you out of the immersion.
Yeah, it just feels kind of weird. It's like, you have to walk back outside, look up at the sign again, look down, look at the menu, look at them, look at the sign, look at the menu, look at them. Look at the
thought
restroom.
bubble comes up in your head. There's like an algebra equation. It just like equals ?
But the Mission District, like, that's the one area I only went to like once. I remember having more weird people than anywhere else. But that's almost like it's kind of like outside of San Francisco in a sense, or what I consider like the main section of San Francisco. I know it's still a section of San Francisco.
Yeah.
But it just feels kind of like, oh, well, that's that other section that you go to if you need to.
Maybe just that one time, or maybe it was just there on a really bad day. I don't know, but I went through there and it wasn't as that was because people say the Tenderloin is really bad.
No, Tenderloin just has a bunch of like hobo black guys that are like they seem pretty friendly.
Yeah. The guy we were talking to at the bus stop, those guys, he was actually pretty cool. He was pretty friendly, but it was actually the Mission District, which you don't really hear. Oh yeah, it's a little weird there. That was actually way worse than all the times I've been through the Tenderloin.
Well, I think that's just because I think it's just the low rent section. It's kind of the poor, the cheap, and it's one of those ones that I think they kind of shove to the side. And as I said, like, I don't really think of that as San Francisco. That's kind of just like the little like offshoots. You know, you could say it's the outskirts. Well, it's more like it's like the outskirts of San Francisco, sort of, give or take. I mean, it's still part of the city, but it's still like it's not in the main section.
Well, it was kind of weird because we were walking down through because I don't really know San Francisco geography that well. We were walking down this one street that was very like it was very commercial, very corporate. There's like a Macy's, a Starbucks, a Nike, a Gucci, all this, big corporate expensive stuff. And then take one wrong turn. Oh, look, there's a kid shitting in the street.
I want to say down there that there was one time there was like this like I went there and when you take a cab you have no idea where the fuck you're going. That's the thing I don't like about cabs. See, that's why I like walking. Because I'm like I know how to get back home. When you take a cab you have no idea. And I want to say that there was actually like it was a gothic like kind of like event. So it had like just all these gothic people. There was gothic strippers. Gothic music, this whole like
in the
thing
street.
No, it was in like just a building.
Oh, okay.
Just like a club. And the weirdest thing about it though, there was a gothic looking guy who looked just like Mr. Suggs. Just picture Mr. Suggs is like gothed out as can be. Like he's got the biggest boots on. And let me explain who Mr. Suggs is. He's this teacher we had like in high school.
Oh, you're giving me flashbacks.
And he's like 6'5", looks like a professional wrestler, really well built, shaved head, goatee, glasses. But like the nicest guy who loves Disney.
Yeah.
But he actually does have this kind of thing like he'll just say things like I don't like that person.
He will. Well, he was very blunt, but he was very nice at the same time. So
there's no pictures of that kind of character now dressed totally gothic.
So are we talking like S&M or are we
talking...
talking...
I'm talking gothic, not...
So like probably like a Misfits t-shirt and like maybe a few studs or whatever.
More than I mean like a full decked out, like he's got leather pants on and 6-inch boots and chains and belts and studs.
Like Danzig and all that.
Yeah, something like that.
Danzig and Mr. Suggs fused together. There's a thought.
Yeah. Even Danzig, he's just a guy who wears pants and has long hair. He really doesn't have like this. I mean, if he's in the Misfits, it's different. But like when he's by himself, he's just like, it's a guy with long hair who's well built.
Some people were making a big deal, I guess. It was online. I heard it on like...
when Nike got punched out at a bar?
Not that, no. It was the dumbest thing. People were making a big deal about this online. I guess... maybe I heard this on the Rooster Teeth podcast. I'm trying to remember where... Maybe it was Two Average Dicks. I really like that podcast, Two Average Dicks. I think someone said like there was like a photo online of Danzig walking out of like a Sam's Club or Walmart with 2 massive bags of kitty litter. Like, why the fuck does he need that much kitty litter? Why the fuck? People were freaking out and just wondering. Like, maybe he's just a cat guy.
Maybe he's just got a couple cats and
yeah.
He got these on sale. Like,
it's not like he's short on money.
He's a human being just like you and me.
He doesn't want to go there anytime soon. Yeah, I just remember there's a huge deal being made about
People
that.
are fucking dumb sometimes.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But yeah. But speaking of San Francisco, we actually saw a movie there. Well, not a movie, but we saw a movie that was set there not too long ago.
Which one was set there?
Blue Jasmine.
Oh yeah, Blue Jasmine. I totally spaced out. I was like, oh yeah, we didn't see it today.
Yeah.
Well, that's what they do. Like with Woody Allen movies, they first play in like New York and Los Angeles and probably a couple other cities in between, and then about 2 months later or so, give or take, they finally release it to some other theaters without giving you any fucking warning. They just kind of like, just pop that in there for a week. We got like one theater to fill. It's okay. Just pop it in there.
I told like
Marley. Don't tell anybody about it.
Marley told me. He's like, yeah, I was walking by there. They had the new Woody Allen movie playing. I'm like, he has a new movie out. I had no fucking idea.
Yeah, it's like I totally forgot about that too.
I just went to him like
I knew he had a new movie out, but it's like well, it's ones that sometimes you kind of you read about a movie. It's like well, it's not playing here, so you just forget about it.
Yeah, I went there. It's like it's probably the one movie I don't know what it is. I'm like Blue Jasmine. That sounds like a Woody Allen movie. So.
And that was actually, it was a pretty good movie. I liked it. You know, it's really just a story of like two sisters. One yuppie as fuck. The other one, yuppie as fuck living in New York. The other one, sort of like middle class. I mean, poor for San Francisco, but middle class to everybody else in San Francisco.
Yeah. I thought, I liked it. I'll be honest, this is going to
And then it's just like, and the rich one pretty much loses everything, so she has to go live with her poor sister, which she has a hard time adapting. Mm-hmm. That's really like the basic concept of that story.
Yeah, which the thing about this movie is, well, actually, first off, let me say, it's going to make me lose so much kind of like film geek credit, but this is the first Woody Allen movie I've seen. I always wanted to see a Woody Allen movie. I don't know, they're not exactly, you almost have to go looking for a Woody Allen movie.
You can't just find it. Like, they don't just regularly...
This digital age, it's so much easier, and I should probably get a couple of his big ones, but,
It's like, as with every director, almost, it's like a really good director. It's like, as long as you just check out like the three biggest ones in a sense, give or take.
Yeah.
Then at least you can get kind of the vibe of like what they are.
There's Hey There, Tiger Lily. That's not one of the big ones.
No, that's like his first one.
That's his first one, really?
Mm-hmm.
Before that, he would just go and do sort of like a form of stand-up, right?
Yeah, he's also a stand-up comedian, and then he also has acted just in like other movies too. Like,
he was the main character in that movie, Ants with a Z.
Yeah, and he's also one of the 007s in Casino Royale.
Really?
Yeah, him, Orson Welles, David Nevin.
They switch off between different.
I want to say there's like 7. I haven't seen a movie since I was like a kid, so I really don't remember.
Is it like different segments or something like that?
No, it's just like I think it's just to confuse the bad guys. As I said, I couldn't really explain. You were gonna ask questions that I can't answer.
There's
it's
Peter.
Like, I just remember watching that movie as a kid, and I was so excited. I was like, oh my god, dude, they're doing the first. I didn't know there was one of the first 007 book. And you're like, oh, it's a comedy? And as a kid, you're like, comedy? What the fuck? And you think as a kid you'd like the comedy, but sometimes kids have like the exact opposite
this
of
is
what
in
you
my
think.
007.
Yeah, it's like, what the fuck is this?
Well, this is before Dr. No came out and they had rights issues
No, it
with that.
It wasn't before Dr. No came out. You're thinking of the original Casino Royale.
That's what I am thinking of.
That one has it was a black and the original one was made in like 1956.
And that had Peter, not Peter.
You're thinking Peter Sellers?
Peter Sellers, yeah.
Nope,
Peter
that's
Sellers.
Casino. That's the second one. That's the second one. So there's a 50s one. It was a made-for-TV one, and it actually follows Casino Royale, the book, just in like an hour-long version because it's a made-for-TV movie.
And
like,
that's
black and white.
That has an American guy. Then they changed him to like, they call it like they made him like an American agent instead of MI6.
Yeah, I cannot think of what that actor's name is, but there's that one. Then there's the second Casino Royale, which came out in like 1967, give or take. And it's pretty much like the original Austin Powers in a sense. Like, it's a spoof on 007.
And then you got Dr. No after that.
No, Dr. No comes before that movie. That came out in 1964. Oh, okay. Or 62. I don't know, it's right fucking there, but I'm not going to get up and get it.
All right.
And, so no, there had already been about 4 007 movies by the time Casino Royale, the 60s one, came out. And that's got Orson Welles, David Nevin, Peter Sellers, Woody Allen. It's got a bunch of people in it. Mm-hmm. And then, obviously, the third Casino Royale is the Daniel Craig one. Yeah. The one that most people know what that is.
Mm-hmm. Okay, cool. I didn't know that there was that many Casino Royales. Just that there's the...
the one that's really just forgotten is that black and white one.
Which I'm curious about that one.
You got a VHS copy of it.
I'll be interested in seeing that at some point.
Yeah.
Do they still beat his balls?
My dad one time told me about these. He's like, I was watching this, like, Casino Royale, and I was thinking, like, oh, you know, the 60s one. He's like, no, this one's black and white. It had this other guy in it. It was from the 50s. I was like, what the fuck? It's like the production value was kind of low. It was a made-for-TV movie. And it's like, that's literally like day one. People got TV. They want something. I guess just there's this 007 thing. It's popular.
It's popular in England. I don't know.
It's popular. People read. I mean, television's out now. I mean, why isn't everybody just burning their books in the street?
No. Just saying. No, what was
it? What blows my mind though is that
I just want to ask you this real quick. Do they still have the part where they're beating his balls with the rope?
No.
I didn't think they would back in the 50s, but whatever.
I hope. Yeah, I think I can't remember. It's one of those ones too. It's like I watched that one like once.
Mm-hmm. That almost seems kind of like you saw it just for the sake of seeing it.
It's like I bought it mainly for the collection. Well, I found VHS too, and it was like some kind of like not thrift store, like one of those ones where like a guy's just got a bunch of like random shit.
Is it kind of like there's like this big warehouse down like a few streets from where I live?
In Soulsbyville?
Yeah,
that's the one.
There's a big warehouse. And people just drop off. I got some shit I want to get rid of. How much you give me for it? $5. Okay, I can go to my heroin fund.
No. You're thinking of the one that's by the outpost?
Yeah.
Okay, go across the street from the outpost, or not across the street, but across the way, like you're going towards Soulsbyville School, and it's up to the right before the Willow Springs Market.
Okay. But
that
it's kinda,
warehouse one.
It's kind of similar though. They just you know.
Except for this guy's got much nicer stuff in a sense.
Right.
He's got all kinds of things, but his stuff's in better condition. Let me just say that. And he's got some more kind of like antiques, tools. There was a wheelchair there at one point. I was planning on buying for like movie making.
There was some stuff there. I've been in that one once. I remember there being some really interesting, cool stuff. This other one was more of just kind of like old, like junky. It looked like stuff like toys from the 80s and 70s. Just like
I've stopped by. I know the one you're talking about. I stopped by there a handful of times. And I never found anything of interest there. But it's like those are the kind of places like you can't just stop by once and go like they don't have anything I want. Fuck them.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, they're going to have different stuff as time goes on.
They have one of those things that actually took me back. It was one of those... I saw two things really took me back. You know how sometimes they come out with like children's books and you push a button, make a sound effect?
Yeah, I had a handful of those ones.
Yeah, I had some of those, and they had one of those
things.
Like
a gargoyle one.
Oh, I forgot about that show. Gargoyle. I want to say this real quick. I know we're going to get back on Woody Allen in just a second, but I want to say this. If Disney's now trying to make like more like action films and all that, if they're smart, maybe not if they're smart, but I think it would be cool. But
gargoyles,
live action gargoyles, make it PG-13 or whatever. But of course, but you can't make it R. I understand why, but I think that'd be awesome as long as you don't make the gargoyles like farting or like doing silly things or something like that, like in Transformers or whatever. Like there's some like the girl, like one of the main characters was a girl detective or something like that. As long as I don't have some like silly scene where it's like she's trying to have like a nice fancy dinner and then Goliath and the other gargoyles are like trying to hide in the house while this is going on. And
some stupid shit like
as long
that.
as I don't do that, I think you got a pretty easy made movie.
I know. I think enough people still remember gargoyles enough, and it's just like,
why not? I mean, people. I mean, I know they're probably being a little. Well, actually, they got all this fucking Star Wars money now. Just fucking do it. You got the money for it.
You can do whatever you want. I mean, it's gonna make money no matter what, as long as you don't spend too much.
I know they lost some money on Lone Ranger, but it was one of those things. Like I thought the movie was doing good.
Well, I think Lone Ranger. I think it's perfect. They spent too much.
Yeah, they spent too much, and plus we're in this town, and in this town westerns always do good.
Yeah, so most people are like, "Oh, it wasn't that bad." What are you complaining about?
I think it's towns like this which kind of got that movie all its money.
Yeah,
but yeah, I think that would be pretty interesting though. Disney's also at that point where they're just kind of like, we're fucking rich off Avengers, we're rich off Star Wars. We don't give a like there are movies they were like, we don't know if we'll make it. Like, fuck yeah, we'll make it. You're like Tron 2, 3, fuck it, we'll make them all. Now they're also like Shaggy Dog 6, sure, whatever.
You love it.
But I don't think they're making Shaggy Dog 6, but they probably, they're at the point, like, someone pitches an idea and they just chuck a wad of money. Like, we got the fucking money, we don't give a shit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But Blue Jasmine, back to that
back to the main point.
It's pretty good. It's a Woody Allen movie, and mostly Woody Allen movies don't have any plot, really. It's just a talkie picture about, like, almost like a look into somebody's, like, life for, like, anywhere between, like, a week to a month or so, give or take.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they can vary more than that. It's not, like, the only concept. But that's kind of, like, it always feels like the standard Woody Allen one. And every once in a while, there's always, like, fantasy kind of elements into them, too.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like time travel or something just like that, but, like, they don't make it, like...
an epic. They just make
it makes it... It's almost, like, very, like, artsy and creative. Like, I don't even want to... At some point, you gotta see Midnight in Paris.
Everyone tells me that.
It was one of the best Woody Allen movies I think I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And it's just, like, it's just so cool. And
do you have that one?
I do.
Okay.
I have it on DVD.
I'll have to check that out.
And Owen Wilson pretty much just plays, like, the Woody Allen character in it. Because sometimes, I was kind of turned off for a while by some of the newer Woody Allen movies. It's kind of like a Clint Eastwood movie sometimes, too, where you're like, it might still be a good movie, but, Clint Eastwood or Woody Allen isn't in it.
Yeah,
or the Clint Eastwood Woody Allen team-up movie.
Every so often, even I love Clint Eastwood. I think he's a good director. Every once in a while, he'll put out a movie that's just kind of like, whatever. And I'm not going to totally... Like, J. Edgar, it was alright. It wasn't amazing.
But it's well, I'll say this. If Clint Eastwood's in it, I'll probably be there. Yeah. If he's not in it, even if it's a good movie, I'll probably get to it in a little bit.
Yeah.
And sort of that sounds of Woody Allen movies too, but like since Midnight in Paris was so good, I was like, you know what, Blue Jasmine, I'm jumping aboard. I think it was because there was that movie called Wimbledon, and it was just to me it was just hard for me to get into this. It's just like a bunch of rich yuppie douchebags that play tennis.
Is that all Wimbledon was?
Yeah, it was one of the few movies I turned off at about 40 minutes or so. I was just like, it's like I don't want to see a bunch of rich yuppie douchebags and their like problems and then. And it was just one of those movies like, nah, maybe someday I'll sit
It's
back.
like she dented the yacht the other day.
It's just like
That pushed our insurance claim up by $1,000. Mine.
And Blue Jasmine, you could almost say, it kind of has like it might have that problem too, because like sometimes when you see rich people and like their problems, it's like that movie The Company Man, where like Ben Affleck's like, what do you mean I can't go skiing during my lunch breaks anymore? What the fuck? And it's just like, really, that's a problem? You can't go skiing during your lunch breaks?
Now I'm thinking about
Or
it.
you can't go. And on the weekends too, you can't go golfing with your buddies, like, and pay the $400 a week fee or whatever it was.
Since that's Ben Affleck, I'm almost thinking now. I'm looking back on that movie, thinking like it's Bruce Wayne who become Batman. Just like, what the fuck, man?
But
he had a Bruce Wayne type job almost.
He really did.
Yeah.
But Kate Blanchett, though, in Blue Jasmine, she's kind of just that rich, yuppie douche who then, like, it was like, well, there's my sister. And it's like, there's that scene where, like, the sister comes to visit her, like, in New York. And it's just like Kate Blanchett. It's almost like Alec Baldwin's
Alec Baldwin husband, yeah.
Yeah, the husband. He's actually really not that. He doesn't seem like he's being that douchey to him. He's just kind of, he's not really saying anything. So that, I guess, makes him not sound nearly as douchey. But where Kate Blanchett's like, it's like, well, we hired somebody to take you around. Like, we're kind of busy. And, my birthday party, you can't really come to that. That's kind of exclusive. It's just like, it's like, geez, what a fucking cunt. So is your sister, for Christ's sakes.
It's one of those things, I'll say this. It's kind of like they kind of play with you, with the character for a little while. And parts of you, to a certain extent, I mean, not completely or entirely, part of you feels for her for a little while in the movie. For a little bit. Because what happens is, the short and simple of it is, her husband, Alec Baldwin, who at first seems like, he seems like a decent guy, but we find out he's actually a fraud, and he steals a bunch of money, he's a real prick, we find out after a while, and he's also cheating on her. So to a certain extent, she is a victim for a little while, and what happens is, he ends up going to jail and getting killed in jail. They don't show it, but they say. Well, they actually said that he choked himself, and then she said, No. If he killed himself, he would have hung himself and broke his own neck. This was just choking. So
no, I think it was the other way around. She said, because the one guy was, I wanted to say was like, no, didn't he choke himself to death? She's like, no. If you hang yourself, your neck breaks. You don't sit there and choke.
Oh, I thought it was the other way around. They said that.
No, or at least that's how I remember it saying it.
Yeah. Well, regardless,
but whatever.
He's dead.
Some way he choked himself or hung himself,
or someone else did, or regardless, whatever. He's dead now. So, but we find out that that pretty much she was somebody at a young age. She got married to him, so she's kind of been this.
She's never worked. She's just kind of
had this life of privilege for a very long time. So she's kind of just doesn't really know how the real world works. So a certain part of you kind of feels for her as you see her. She's trying to get into. I mean, she's a little bitchy, and you find out. But as the movie goes on, you find out more how much of a bitch she really is, and that everything. It's kind of like she's kind of almost used it to the point like you kind of lose sympathy for her when you realize she's just repeating the same mistakes, and she's almost playing the sympathy card too much to get her by, and then just like, well, you're just doing this to yourself. Fuck you. And I think the big part, because there's a big twist at the end, because for a while she was saying, like, well, how'd you not know? She's like, I just didn't know he was embezzling money. I didn't know. That's
she was just kind of like oblivious.
She was oblivious. But then at the very end, there's like one of the last scenes
where she starts to like turn into Smeagol.
Yeah.
In Lord of the Rings.
Well, because what happens is she talks to herself, and they'll cut back to a scene, because the movie plays somewhat kind of like there's two stories going on.
Well, it's kind of cool because I like is like it cuts back and forth between like the past and a present story, and one's New York and one's San Francisco, and it does it where it doesn't hold your hand. It just kind of fucking cuts it, because at first you're kind of like, wait, are we in New York or are we in San Francisco? And then after a while you're like, okay, I understand how this is like flowing, but it does
Alec Baldwin's on a zombie, so this must be current. Or this must be in the past. But it's one of those things that I thought was cool because it's like the two stories move chronologically, and they both kind of end at the same time. And by the time we get to the end, we're about to get to the end of the San Francisco story. We get to the end of the New York story. And that after she finally confronts him and says, like, I know you've been cheating on me, this and that. He's just like, hey, I'm Alec Baldwin. I do whatever the fuck I want. And he just walks out the house generally. She ends up calling the FBI and ratting him out, implying that she knew this the whole time. So she is just kind of a bitch, and she did this to herself. And the other thing
it's kind of like, it's like, well, what do you expect?
Yeah. And the other thing is...
her son's like, fuck you, Mom.
Yeah.
You fuck.
Adoptive son, yeah.
Yeah, he's like, whatever. I'm going to quit Harvard or Princeton or wherever the fuck I was going. I'm gonna go do drugs and sell guitars in San Francisco.
That is
Fuck
the
you.
ultimate fuck you.
Yeah. It's like, no, honey, don't go to San Francisco and sell used guitars. Used.
Well, that's the thing. After
If you ever met some people that are really rich, like the word used almost like gives them like a slight migraine.
like an aneurysm.
Used? Like what? Why would someone else touch that?
Yeah.
For all you know, they could have, put their dick on it. What else do heathens
She
do?
turns
use
around.
things?
There's some like dirty hippie just slapped his dick to like a Gibson.
It's like guitars, like blam 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 blam, playing like slap bass with his penis. Used.
But it's one of those things for a while because something they get across is that she is kind of like she is very judgmental and very kind of like condescending. But then you kind of stop and look at her like, well, at least these people are working, or at least they're just trying to get by.
Yeah.
At least they're making an effort.
Like I felt really bad for that guy, Chili, in the movie, which is a strange name, but like that guy was like one of those kind of guys. Like he's really just kind of like, I mean, he's a standard blue collar guy. He's a mechanic. But he seems like a pretty darn nice guy. He's truthful. He kind of like that and stuff. And that guy kind of gets like the shaft for like the long point of the movie. Because Kate Blanchett tries to tell her sister, like, no, don't date this guy, Chili.
Yeah, the guy that plays Chili is a guy named Bobby Cannavale, and he did a really good job.
He was great.
The sister, who was a girl named Ginger. I mean, the main character, her name's Jasmine. That's the Kate Blanchett character, and Sally Hawkins plays Ginger. That's the sister. Mm-hmm. And I think I just put together Chili and Ginger. I think I just put that,
Maybe.
two kind of spicy foods that kind of go together. I don't know, maybe. Anyway, so, but her whole thing right there is like, I feel kind of like, at first, I think this is kind of like intentional, because Woody Allen, really, he's been doing this for like, 40 years now, writing movies, just people just talking to each other.
Yeah.
I think he would do movies with layers, or more like it is what you perceive it as. I think he is talented enough to do that, because, when you first meet Chili and when you first meet certain characters in the movie, you're not completely sure about them. In most movies, as soon as a character comes on,
You're like, I know who that is.
I know who that is. Fuck this guy, or oh, they're cool.
Well, because when you first see Ginger, you're almost like, that's a prostitute.
Yeah.
That's gotta be a prostitute. Look at the way she's dressed. She's skinny as hell. It's gotta be a prostitute. And you're like, oh, no, she's just a...
And she's pretty nice for the most part. She's one of the more likable characters in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
And you meet Chili, like, oh, this guy's gonna be a fucking douchebag.
You're like,
and
oh, no, he's just a real nice guy.
he's nice for the most part, and they have a few scenes where you do see his bad side. And
He gets a little angry and he breaks a phone.
and and Ginger...
And a lamp.
Yeah, and Ginger...
Fuck you, lamp.
Batman episode coming up. Drunk Batman. Just clarifying, people like, I don't remember that episode.
There's a new Batman show that's out right now. Fuck, is he gonna just say like "fuck you, lamp" in like a kid's cartoon?
Did Paul Dini write that one? No. But it's Bruce Timm, maybe? No. Anyway, I heard he quit the DC universe.
Bruce Timm?
Stuff. I heard he did.
Really?
I don't know if that's true, but I heard.
Because it's kind of like his universe when you really get down to it.
It is Bruce Timm land.
He's like, oh fuck it, you can't make any of the characters look like my artwork anymore. Fuck you.
They've been changing a lot, but anyway, I'll get back on this. So we'll try and come back around at the end if we don't get too off topic. But for instance, I think this is kind of what's kind of cool about the movie is, like we said, like most movies, you see a character, you know who they are, they stay with that personality throughout the whole movie. Mm-hmm. This one, they do things that are kind of like, that's a fucked up thing to do. But yeah, when you kind of think about it, like, because the characters, I mean, this is going to sound kind of, I don't want to get too, like, I guess, deep or emotional here. When you think about it, because there's a moment where, like, Ginger, the Sally Hawkins character, cheats on Chili with the Louis C.K. character. And it's after they had a fight, I think, or something happened.
Well, no, because Kate Blanchett just kind of kept talking her into it, going like, you can do better. You shouldn't take fucking a man named Chili.
That's right, actually. You're right. Never mind.
And so she just decided to, like, go with Louis C.K. Because, if you're going to go with somebody, Louis C.K.
Louis C.K.
How can you resist? He's charming.
And that's one of those examples. When you first see him, he's a really likable guy. And
then you realize he becomes a total douche.
Yeah, and it's over the phone. We didn't even see him make that transformation, which I think that would happen in real life. And in real life right there, I mean, I've never been cheated on, but in the relationships I've been in, if I was cheated on them, I don't know if I would be able to forgive them. But at the same time, there is that... I think anybody...
But Chili's just such a nice guy. I think that's why he does forgive.
Yeah, but at the same time, though, what I'm saying is... I mean, I've never been in that situation, so I can't really say. But it's one of those things, I think it's around the lines of... in real life, if you really love someone, There are moments where you kind of want to go like, I just want to fucking kill you right now, but you don't, because A, you go to prison, and B, because you love them, so you don't. But there are those moments, and there are moments where the characters, you could tell they want to do that to each other. Like Chili's like that with Ginger, Ginger's like that with Chili. You're just like, what the fuck's wrong with you? But then they all come around.
Andrew Dice Clay's like that with fucking Kate Blanchett.
Yeah. And
she was fucking awesome. I wish she was in a little bit more. He's only in it for like 15 minutes of the movie, maybe.
But he comes back around. It's one of those things. He has like a 15-minute moment, roughly, in around the beginning.
And they kind of explain his character too, because at first, like, they make you kind of feel like, oh, he's kind of a bad guy, like, oh, he beats her and all this stuff like that. And then you just kind of realize, like, no, Kate Blanchett just makes shit up.
Mm-hmm. You find that out, and at the same time, you find out that, like, because what happens is he won kind of like a miniature lottery, not a huge lottery, but kind of like a miniature,
like $200,000.
Yeah, and he wanted to use that to start up a business, and then and
Kate Blanchett's like, no, Alec Baldwin here. He's a great guy. He's invests things for people. How many invested? And they're like, all of it. And he's like, yeah, sure, he'll invest it all. He's Alec Baldwin.
He knows what he's doing. So then after that, then everything just goes to shit because the whole FBI, IRS thing comes.
And he
into
loses
play.
all his money, so he doesn't get to start his own business and so on.
Yeah. So and then like he's out of the movie for a while because we find out Ginger divorced him and all that. Mm-hmm. And then it comes back around. He actually comes back and play a very integral part of the movie. But I want to say this about Andrew Dice Clay. He did an amazing job. But when Chili and Augie, who is the Andrew Dice Clay character,
they look like Chili almost looks
Looper.
Like, yeah, that could have been like the best Looper right there.
Because it's one of those things. When I saw, because I'll be honest, it's been so long since I've seen any Andrew Dice Clay stand-up. And I'll admit it, I'm not really a big Andrew Dice Clay fan when it comes to stand-up.
I always just liked him in movies. I'd never even seen a stand-up.
He did great in this movie, but when I saw him, I was like, I was looking like, is that Andrew Dice Clay? When I first saw Augie, because I was like, all right. What I remember from Andrew Dice Clay, I remember this chick was sucking my dick, unbelievable. I remember that, and then I remember black and white suit jacket with huge shoulder pads. I don't really remember features. Mm-hmm. I remember that. So when I was like, okay, I'm looking for a real kind of Brooklyn Italian accent. So when I saw Augie and Chili, I was kind of like, which one is which? Because Chili is what I remember him being like, but Augie
is where he should
be. Probably where he's at right now. And I was right.
But yeah, no, he did a great job.
He was so good in that movie. I mean, he only had like 15 or 20 minutes of screen time.
Yeah, I know.
But he was good.
He was great.
And he ultimately comes back around because you think I guess that's all they're using him for. But he comes back around at the end to play a pretty big part.
Yeah, they say like, oh yeah, your son, he's doing drugs and selling used guitars. Used guitars?
Used guitars?
In San Francisco?
In Oakland?
Yeah, Oakland. Oakland!
At some point you see things, I mean, the Kate Blanchett character, things start to go a little better for her. And she meets at a party Peter Saggari. He's the... I forgot. Peter, he's the guy who plays Zach Braff's best friend in Garden State.
Yeah.
And he was Hector Hammond in Green Lantern.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So, that guy, I mean, also, you can say what you want about Green Lantern, but the guy that played Hector Hammond, Peter Saggari, he did a great job, because I did not know that was Zach Braff's friend from Garden State at all.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But anyway, he comes in, and he's just kind of like this politician who's kind of working his way up, and of course when Kate Blanchett meets him, she totally lies and fucking says, oh yes, I'm rich, I do this,
I'm so happy.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm Kate Blanchett.
For some reason she's an old like British man from the 1700s. I say, good day gentlemen, good day.
Yes.
But no, so then...
I'm an interior designer.
yes, interior design. England. Yeah.
I wasn't thinking that voice, but yes.
That works too. It's kind of the evolution. That's the American version of the blah, 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 really.
Yeah, I guess it is. Well, that voice always reminds me kind of like...
Monopoly,
we must go to war right now. Africa.
Yeah, it's kind of the same thing. Well, anyway, Augie bumps into them because everything's going perfect. Oh, we're going to get married. Everything's going to be wonderful. And then all of a sudden, Augie bumps in like, hey, this bitch, she's fucking lying. Later. Da-da-da-da-da-da.
Yeah, she fucked me over. She fucked her son over. Mm-hmm. Her husband's dead.
Yeah. Thought you'd like to know,
He's like, what the fuck? You got a son? Your husband's dead?
You
lost all this money? Like, what? oh, oh.
Just the Hector Hammond thing. Like she blows up or something. Starts like that'd be like amazing.
Well, guess what? We were gonna go into this fancy diamond shop, but fuck you.
Uses mind control, starts slamming her against the pavement, throws her across the street. But no, it was a pretty good movie. I never seen and then actually I like how bleakly it ends, because after all that happens, she then goes back to Ginger, who's back with Augie, and she's all like, "Oh yes, well I'm gonna get married," and she pretends like everything's still happy and just swimmingly fine and all that, and she's like, "Okay, well I'm off then, goodbye," and then she just goes out and sits on like a park bench and starts talking to herself in her Smeagol, like Gollum-like fashion.
Yeah, she just starts looking like... She just starts turning into Smeagol. That's really what this movie turns into. This is almost like the story of Smeagol.
Starring Kate Blanchett.
Yeah.
But she did a great job in those movies.
Oh, no, she did a really good job, too.
And it just ends with her sitting on, like, a park bench, starts talking to herself, like, to old conversations she had before, like, back in New York. And then some lady gets weirded out, just walks and leaves, and just holds on her. Nice, easy-going, like, Woody Allen music. Credits.
Yeah. Overall, it was a pretty good movie, though. I liked it a lot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, good flick.
You know, it was an enjoyable one.
Every once in a while, it's kind of weird. I'll kind of go through these phases where it's just kind of like, action, Lethal Weapon, Die Hard, just all these action movies I feel like watching. Then all of a sudden I'll switch, like, I want to watch a film, So I'm like, Woody Allen, Edward Burns, Orson Welles,
Something with a lot of talking.
Exactly. You just kind of go through these phases.
Life.
Yeah, it's never really just kind of like a progression one into one.
You just like instantly just jump into something else.
Yeah, exactly. Because I've been watching.
Sort of how you can kind of watch You can watch two movies back to back, and they'll be completely opposite of each other.
Yeah, I've been on this big like '80s action movie kick lately, but yeah.
Well, I watched another sweet movie actually recently.
What was that?
Robot and Frank.
I wanted to see that. How is that?
It's really fucking badass.
Mm-hmm.
It's the most simple story of this thing is like a son's like, Dad, you're too hard to take care of. Here's a fucking robot. And like, I don't need a robot. I'm an old man. I can take care of myself. And he's kind of like lives in his house. It looks like he literally doesn't do like a whole lot of work around it. And he's sort of got Alzheimer's, sort of like he kind of forgets things slightly. So the robot's supposed to be there to like help him remember, keep him healthy, take him on walks.
I got a question.
Clean his house.
I got a question.
Does he fuck the robot?
Yes. Does he
No.
fuck the robot?
No. No one of those relationships.
Okay.
That's what it sounds like, though. You just feel like the first thing you do is like, I'm just gonna fuck this robot.
The poster is, I think he's kneeling and looking at a table and the robot's sitting across from him, like, does he fuck that robot?
No, instead what he does, he's like, you know what? I don't really like my son that much. I was gonna teach him stuff, but fuck that kid. I'm gonna teach you. You know what I used to do? I was a cat burglar. I used to steal jewels. You're gonna learn how to do that with me. And the robot's like, okay, Frank. I guess we can do that.
Really?
Yeah.
Does he actually form a good relationship with the robot? Or is
Yeah,
the robot
it comes to a
programmed
point where like almost be like a gray stroke, like Tarzan thing, where he becomes such friends like that robot. He was my friend.
Really? Oh.
Well, his kids are kind of like.
I guess
douchey.
you know how it ends.
No, it's actually not like that. It's actually
Okay.
kind of.
Him and a robot just running
It
down
does
like
have
a
kind of one of
street.
those like sad things. But
Him
no,
and a robot just running down the street like a bunch of British guys. Destroy that robot! And just like unloads on it.
kind of like that.
He was my son!
No, he was my father.
Well, in that moment, I guess it'd be like robot son, I guess.
Yeah. Well, no, the robot's more like his buddy. It's not his son.
Robot buddy?
He didn't fucking like.
He was my
have this
buddy!
child. It's like he became a robot. My son's a robot. Yeah. So like, and then like, he's got like, okay, so his one son's kind of like douchey tech kid who's like. He's like, Dad, just use machines to take care of you because I'm fucking sick and tired of coming up here every weekend. And then Liv Tyler plays like
The nice,
his daughter, and she's more like I'm I'm the free-flowing hippie girl that, fuck machines and all that. Like, I'm gonna help people, but she's really actually like one of those like kind of like total loser hippie people who's always like, I'm out helping the world in like Africa and stuff. And then at one point she comes back, she's like, I'm going to help you out, Dad. It's going to be okay. You don't need this robot. And she, like, makes the robot, like, go on sleep mode. And you realize that she's, like that. He comes around and he's like, you know what? The robot used to take good care of this house. This little house looks like fucking shit.
I actually met someone kind of like that a
And
little
she's
bit.
just kind of like, well, Dad, I'll get to it at some point. And then she even just cheats and uses the robot. They clean and then turns them off. And like, I totally cleaned up last night. But this guy goes like, get the fuck out of here, you stupid cunt.
I know he doesn't actually say that.
He doesn't say that, but that's kind of like how his attitude is.
I met someone like
he's
that.
He's like, that robot is my friend. We get along. I'm going to kill myself if I don't get a robot.
I met someone the other night, actually like last week.
They had a robot.
They have a robot, but it was kind of like that, kind of like hippie-ish, kind of like, yeah, you know.
I hate that. It's those like those hippies are like the worst.
Well, it was like a friend of a friend, and I was at a bar, and I just more or less got kind of roped into talking to this person. She was cool for the most part, but it was one of those things like, well, so what do you do? And she's like, well, right now I'm just kind of existing, just enjoying life, just experiencing life to the fullest. I'm like, all right, you got a job, cool. You just say that, but
Yeah, you're a hobo, but yeah, thanks.
that's cool. You know, it's you know, it sounds more pretty so than that.
But yeah, no, and then after a while, like what happens is like, there's like, Frank likes to go to like this library where Susan Sarandon works at, and like, you know, he's like the only guy who pretty much goes in there and rents books, and so this douchey guy comes. It's like literally the fucking douchiest techie guy you could ever see in the world. He comes by, he's like,
Imagine a tech
and he's
guy
like, we're gonna like recycle all the books here and put in like kind of like new, you know, technology kind of things. You know, it'd be like music, and just turns this library into like be like a cultural experience where you can come together socially and like play with computers and shit.
When you first said douchey guy, I just imagine just kind of like a guy, like a tech guy, like in a Letterman's jacket, just kind of walking in.
Well, no, he's more just like, you know, and at some point, like Frank's like, well, fuck that guy. That guy lives down the street from me. You know what? Fuck him and fuck that guy. We're gonna go rob.
I just wish you wrote this movie. It's just an hour and a half of just this old guy saying, fuck you guys and fuck you. Me and my robot are gonna steal your fucking shit.
He only says fuck a couple times, buddy.
Is this PG-13 or R?
I don't know if it's PG-13 or R. It's probably PG-13. But, still, the story's like, so him and the robot are just sitting outside, like, fucking looking in with binoculars and shit. Watching this totally douchey guy who, like, just pretty much, you know, recycled the books in the library and made it, like, crappy and everything.
I imagine it's almost, it seems sort of like that even though it takes place in the future, it's a guy, it's like saying, like, yeah, there's good things with technology, but there's also some things that just kind of separate us as humans.
Yeah, it's kind of like it's almost saying like
that.
It's like live with technology, but still like appreciate the past, sort of.
Yeah.
There's a part where he steals like this really old copy of Don Quixote, and you can even say that Frank is Don Quixote, and the robot is like Sancho Panza.
I didn't even think of that.
Well, yeah, well, I have to stop it because like he steals this book. It's this really old, very nice cover, and like one of the few books they keep, and he's like, fuck that guy. I don't want him having it. I'm gonna give this to Susan Sarandon instead.
I love the vocabulary of this movie.
That's just kind of how his attitude is. He's just kind of like, I'm old. He has like that kind of like, I'm old. What the fuck do you want?
This is gonna make me sound kind of weird. I'm not a gilf chaser, but Susan Sarandon looks fucking good, even today. I think.
Well, there's a period
She
of
looks
time
good
where
for her
like
age.
she didn't look that good. Like in like the 90s, she just like I don't know what happened. Like she looked good in the 70s. In the 90s, like, I don't know what... You kind of look at her like Thelma and Louise, and she's just kind of, like, okay looking. She almost looks older then than she does now, if that makes any sense.
She looks... I mean, it's one of those things, like, you know, I know that... I tend to go for people my own age, but damn, she is good looking, even to this day, I think. So,
well, whatever, the whole point gets around is, like, they finally started, like... He explains all, like, the secrets and all whatnot to the robot of how to rob, and, you know, we're not really doing anything wrong, because we're just stealing from total douchey people that, like... They're just... The only people that lose are the insurance companies anyways, and they're a bunch of crooks anyways. So he robs, and then, like... This guy's like, fuck that old man. He's like, I know. He's like, I know he fucking robbed me. And everyone's like, dude, it's a fucking like 88-year-old man. He's like, you're right, man. He used to rob for a living. Fuck that guy. I'm gonna kill him. And then so this guy like hires like police to like sit outside like Frank's house.
I just see it being kind of like what I see for the poster. The way you, if I didn't see the poster, didn't see the trailer, and just was listening to your description, I would see it being kind of like. Maybe like Frank and the robot standing out the window. You see a reflection, a bunch of cop cars outside of it, and both Frank and the robot smoking a cigarette, just flipping the bird off.
That's almost kind of how it is. And then you realize that like he's like I gotta hide some stuff or whatever. And there's one thing he does is like he just does on a day-to-day routine is he just robs this like soap shop that makes kind of like unique, kind of like artsy looking like kind of like soap that comes in like the form of like a horse or a dog or a bird.
Stupid shit like that.
Yeah, and I think it's once he just steals it, just like it's just practice almost. Mm-hmm. And there's always like, yo, Frank, you come back here again, and he comes back like every fucking day. It's just like, but you can never catch him though. That's the one thing. And so he's like, Frank's like, you know, he lies. He's like, tell my son that I'm sick. I want him to come here. And stuff. So his son comes up, he's like, Dad, you okay? I heard you were sick or whatever, and something like that. He's like, no, I'm not fucking sick. Yeah, you butts. And then he's like, take this bag. And so his son takes this bag and goes out, and then those cops come up and run, like, put down the fucking bag or whatever, and they open it up and rip it up, and they're like, It's just a bunch of fucking soap in here. And then that douchey guy comes, he's like, yeah, right, that fuck's got my jewels. Fuck that old man and his robot.
The tagline to this movie.
And then the robot's like, Frank, you gotta erase my memory. It's the only way. It's the only way. If you erase my memory, then they will never know. And Frank's like, no, I can't do that. You're my buddy. I can't erase your memory. He's like, Frank, I'm just a robot. He's like, not to me, you're not. You're a friend. The only friend I've ever had.
This sounds funny.
And then like the police start busting. They just start tearing shit up in his house or whatever.
Please tell me the robot goes in like a murder spasm.
No. What happens is fucking Frank runs outside. He steals his son's car, like backs up, like runs into like the
douchey
the
guy?
police cruiser.
Oh,
no,
okay.
he doesn't run to the douchey guy. The douchey guys just stand there.
Just runs him over, just turns like really violent.
Just goes over the guy's head, and just like burns out. Like, just like blood just shooting. And then like
the cop's like, stop that old man and that robot. The robot's like, I got this, Frank. Just a Gatling gun comes out of his arm, just starts firing at the cops.
Be badass. No, then he pulls around the back, and the robot comes out and fucking jumps in the car, and they try to get away.
Iron Maiden's 2 Minutes to Midnight starts to play.
Almost something like that. And so like, boy, there was another movie I was watching that had fucking, it literally just had like Iron Maiden randomly came on as music in the movie.
What movie?
It was Phenomena.
Oh yeah.
That one with what's her name from Labyrinth. And fucking
Jennifer Connelly.
yeah, Jennifer Connelly.
I saw that.
It's that Dario Argento like horror movie.
I saw that one. Yeah,
That's a pretty good one.
I'll say this. I like that movie, but what was I gonna say about that? It was like whenever I hear that name, Phenomena, I just think this is gonna sound like a cheesy.
Phenomena.
Yeah, just like Phenomena. Phenomena. You know.
Well, whatever. Somehow, some way, I can't remember. Like Frank and stuff, they get caught or whatever, and then like, I think the robot terminates itself.
Really?
Well, like Frank
Self-destruct is like explodes.
There's this part that's
Pretty
actually
awesome.
there's this part that's really funny. It's early in the movie and it leads back to the end where like these kids are like, it's a fucking robot. Look, it's advanced. And like Frank's inside the library and they're just like, fucking robot, and they're like pushing it like a bunch of like 10-year-old bully kids to a robot. And Frank comes out and he's like, get out of here, you little scoundrels. And he's like, what the fuck are you doing? You're a robot. Don't let these kids push you around. He's like, but he says something like, I'm supposed to be a peaceful robot. He's like, well, fuck that. Somebody comes up and starts pushing you around. You just say self-destruct and count down from 10. So later on, when the cops are on the house, the robot does the thing. He's like, self-destruct, 10, 9, and Frank's like, and that's how they escaped. I remember that's how they escaped. And Frank's just like, I'd get the fuck out of here if I were you guys. And then the wife and brother are like, fuck this robot's gonna blow up. And then they realize if the robot doesn't, they escape. But then somehow, I can't remember, they come back to the house and they get captured. And then I think the robot just says, like, he erases his memory. So that they never know if he actually robbed them or not. Nobody figured that out. But the downfall is, like, the kids are like, well, fuck Dad, you know what? Put him in a retirement home or whatever. He's got Alzheimer's. Apparently, his life sucks, so, put him in there. So he's in a retirement home now where, like, he's being watched over. And he walks out. It's like he looks over and he sees the robot. And then it turns out it's just somebody else's robot of his. And then he sees another one. It's like, oh. And then he walks back in his room. That's how like the movie like ends.
Oh man,
it's kind of a sad movie, but it's one of those movies. It's totally badass. The
I
kids
really
are really douchey. Like his son and Liv Tyler are like total like douchebags. But
I still want to see it.
it's still so good though.
Phenomena. You saw that movie a little bit ago, or how long?
Yeah,
ago?
I watched that like a couple weeks ago. I was like, this is a Dario Argento movie I need to watch.
Dario Argento must hate his fucking kids because the very beginning of his movie, he decapitates one of his daughters, and in that other movie,
Like he has his dog get like raped
for like 20 minutes straight.
Yeah.
And not only that, like cut with like I think it was like a hot like what was it a clothes hanger or something like that.
Oh yeah. And, Dario Argento movies, I think they're those kind of movies, I can see where other people are very inspired by them. And I was even watching a Mario Bava movie, which is like the guy who kind of came a little bit before Dario Argento as far as those Italian horror directors. And their movies, they're always like, there's interesting things in them. I don't see the amazingness in them that like some people talk about these guys. Like I've never seen one of those movies where I'm like, this is fucking amazing. This is like evil. I don't see like the Evil Dead or the Dawn of the Dead or something like that. It's like you Americans don't like things that have dead in the title. There was a Mario Bava one I was watching. It was called Black Sabbath. And apparently that's where Black Sabbath like got their name from.
That's what I heard.
Movie.
Yeah.
So I was like, gotta check this movie out at some point. And it was kind of cool. It was like one of those ones. It was like 3 different stories, and you could see where people like get inspired from these movies because they're interesting. Maybe not amazing, but they got a lot of interesting things going in them.
I thought Phenomena, because I never saw it, but Phenomena, that one I thought was interesting. It was one of those movies. It was kind of weird because it was like, yeah, it's violent enough and kind of creepy to get that R rating, but at the very end, once the chick ends up getting like kidnapped and you find out who the real murderer is, and she falls into like that pool, it's filled with maggots.
That's
and
really like the
gore.
pinnacle scene of that movie.
That's where I just think, where the fuck did all this come from? It's like, okay, so she talks to bugs and she's friends with them, but then all of a sudden, it takes like a hard left turn. Like, what the fuck? And there was a little boy in the corner. I knew something was gonna be wrong. And
that was good. Yeah, that ending of the movie is actually really sweet though. It's like that's like one of the best parts of that movie.
And then the fucking kid jumps onto the boat and he's trying
like,
to kill. Like the bees attack
spear,
and like
yeah.
it literally like it eats its face and has to jump like throw the kid in the water again.
But that's one of the best parts she had where like, my son doesn't like me, so we cover him all up.
Yeah.
And there's that one part the kid's fucking standing like the corner crying. He's turning around like, he's got like the fucking Cyclops face is all messed up.
With sharp teeth. It's just like one of those things. I understand it's a scary looking kid, but he's still a kid. Just kick him in the fucking face.
Yeah, I know. So I was like, how fucking scary is a kid?
But
if you're Jennifer Connelly and you're like 15
but there's the
years
one
old,
guy's on the chain. There's the one guy, and I guess giving
it's a fucking
Elmer. Yeah. No, something I thought was awesome. I just fucking thought this is just one of the most awesome ways you can end a movie. Have a monkey stab some bitch. That's so
really
awesome.
That monkey's so fucking bad.
He had the monkey stab some bitch. I love that.
It's funny because that movie really takes a lot from Friday the 13th though, because like that ending kind of reminds me of Friday the 13th a lot, where it's like there's
the
a lady who's really the one kind of doing all the evil shit, and then she's got this son.
Yeah,
that's
the reason it's for.
The son's almost like Jason in a sense.
Yeah,
and it kind of has a lot of similar things.
If Jason never grew up.
Yeah, if Jason never grew up. Well, technically, Jason never. He went to hell and then he came back as an older man.
Yeah. Which I'm wondering, when he went to, did he?
He's like Jason Todd. He like fucking died as a kid and then came back as a man.
Well, I'm kind of wondering here. Did he die? Like, did he? When Jason died, did he die? Then go to hell and came back, or was he alive down there? Just
just hanging out with like Satan and whatnot, just like
not dead.
Jason, be my love child.
But just some pseudoscience bullshit, just like strapped to the bottom with like the. Like all irradiated, then he came out, survived all
swamp thing of like Crystal Lake.
Yeah. Is that what happened, or did he die? Like this little kid died. Let's send him to fucking hell. Is that what happened?
I know. There's a very poor child
who drowned. The other kids made fun of.
Who drowned? Who really just got the shit. He's the one that goes to hell.
So, like is God sitting on his cloud? Like fuck that kid. He can't swim. He ain't coming up here.
I think it's just because his mother's evil.
So it's like. Oh, well, the kid, it's not really his...
He was trying.
The kid was trying. Like, yeah, his mom's a bitch, so fuck him. He goes to hell. Like, really? Okay.
If I remember correctly, in like Friday the 13th, it's like his mom like sends him to hell to come back so he can wreak havoc on these children for the rest of his life. It's almost like it's like a witch's curse kind of thing. You could say. Mm-hmm.
I do love that scene in Friday the 13th Part 2 where it adds a little shrine to his mother's head just out in the little cabin out there.
Yeah, that's badass.
It has a slow zoom out on the end of that.
You know what I was watching actually recently?
What was that?
I saw that they're out on DVD. And I just ran them off Netflix because no money by the moment. But it's like they have the Real Adventures of Johnny Quest on DVD.
Oh, the old 90s one. Yeah.
And that show is still it's still just as good.
Here's the thing about that show. I remember loving it as a child.
It's still just as good.
And I can see it being good. The only thing I'm kind of like, I don't know about that. I'll have to watch it again and see. Was the Quest World stuff.
It's actually not that bad. Because, for 1994, 95, whenever that came out, like, I mean, you gotta kind of take it, like, for that time, those graphics are actually still pretty good. I mean, like, I look at them as, like, that's what it is. And it's supposed to be, it's not supposed to be realistic, the whole point. So, like, it's like Lawnmower Man, actually, more than anything else. Pre-Matrix type stuff, too. Mm-hmm. But, and really, it's funny because, like, that Quest World, and I remember this almost as a kid, because you're almost waiting for Quest World. It's really almost not in the show at all.
It's in a few episodes.
Yeah, that's it. Like, though, it's not, like, a very constant thing. You know what's our badass thing, too? Is Race Bannon is played by Robert Patrick.
Who's Robert Patrick
again? The T-1000.
Really?
Yeah, I was like, that's fucking badass. And then actually the guy who plays Dr. Quest plays the psychiatrist guy in Dark Knight Returns.
Really?
That's same voice.
Awesome. Yeah. I noticed something about that is about... Even though it was a kid's show in the 90s, there were moments it got dark. And it was kind of like you were surprised how dark it got. I remember there was like... I don't remember the bad guy's name, but there's some villains that were reoccurring. And they changed his... He looked different once he got to Quest World. But I think in the real world, He was balding. He kind of had long hair. He had glasses.
The guy in the wheelchair.
I believe he was in a wheelchair.
The guy who steals Questworld, which is that was kind of retarded. It's like Johnny and Haji like fucking bring him inside, and he just like runs with this guy in this wheelchair, gets the fucking away with the Questworld. Like, oh fuck you kids,
Exactly.
stupid fucks.
It's been so long since I've seen it, but I remember that he ends up like he's like trying to get away or something, and like he has a daughter, like he's picking her up from like a birthday party or something, and then he like his car goes over the edge, and he survives, but the daughter dies. I remember for a kids show, I was
In
like,
that show, somebody dies very violently just about in every episode.
they used to always cut away. Or
No, they don't even cut away. I mean, they don't show like the gore, but I mean, like, there's a part where like race bands like busting in with a bunch of these other mercenary guys to get like this one dude or whatever. And I want to say the guy like pulls a gun out and like one of the guys just fucking shoots him, and the race band's like, "No, man, don't fucking shoot him." He doesn't say fucking.
I know, that's just.
He puts it down, and the other guy's just like, "Whatever," and he just shoots him again, and the guy fucking like. I mean, like, they do it, like, in a sense, like, there's no blood or guts, but the guy falls over and, like, his head's, like, looking in the camera, so, I mean, it's like, he's dead.
Yeah, I know.
And there's another part, too, where, like, the elephant graveyard episode, where the elephant, like, smashes two guys. I mean, it doesn't show it, but you know what's going on.
I want to.
It's more than, like, I guess there's two types of cutaways. There's a cutaway where, like, you know the guy's dead, and it cuts away and just doesn't show it, and then there's a cutaway, too, where you're like, well, he might have died, but he could have survived. We kind of leave that open.
I know there's one that was kind of like a. I'm not remembering whole episodes, but I'm remembering like certain moments from the show. It was one of my favorite shows for a while. Mm-hmm. And I remember there was like an episode. They're going to some temple. I think it was somewhere in South America. And there's some lady that was with them.
Like the douchey lady.
She was nice throughout the whole episode, but at the very end,
She's
of course,
like, oh, I'm gonna steal this shit.
I'm gonna steal this shit. And there's like an invisible monster or something. There's a monster who's going around killing people, and it was doing it because I think she stole something. I might be mixing two different plot lines, but pretty much it ends with, I think, like
the birds.
Maybe it was a bird. I remember it ends with, I think, like the thing coming down on her, and she looks, and she screams, and then we just hear like a slash noise or a cut or something.
No, on that episode, like that one, because I just watched it. Like she's on, like Johnny's running up, he's chasing after her, and she's on top. She's got like the idol or whatever.
Oh, she had a gun at a little Indian kids, a little like
Native she had a gun at the fucking little Indian kids or whatever, and then like they end up falling off the edge somehow, and then like. She's holding on, and then she's like, Johnny does like a kind of like Batman thing, like, I'll save you, and she goes like, and then she like lets go accidentally or falls or something, and just falls to her death.
That's still pretty violent.
I mean, like it's just like you get this like long shot looking down, and she just goes like, ah! Yeah, and it's just like, well, whatever. Good thing we're not wearing that cunt. But that show, I feel like that one kind of feels like it has like that kind of like 90s, like we gotta spit a message out. Like the original Johnny Quest more felt like action, adventure. You know, science fiction, like showing off all kinds of stuff like this. But this one's like, man, you gotta protect the animals, man. They have a right. Because there's always like really douchey hunters a lot of times in a lot of the episodes and stuff. Like
Wild Thornberries or whatever.
Yeah, like
I want to say this real quick. Flea did the voice of Donnie in Wild Thornberries.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I never watched that show, but I know.
There's a crazy little like little like monkey boy thing.
Huh.
That Flea did his voice.
That's badass.
Anyway, not that like, there's a whole lot to the character, just making weird noises. But yeah, anyway, go ahead.
But it feels like it's got a lot of like kind of like environmentalists in this like 90s version a lot.
Yeah, and at the same time, I remember it being kind of like, I think I know what episode I was thinking. There's like some temple and there's some invisible monster thing, but they were able to face the monster somehow in Questworld.
Huh.
Or something like
Probably.
that. They could see it in Questworld and they faced it that way. There were some episodes I remember though. Questworld wasn't all CG. It just happened to be, maybe it was later seasons or something. It was actually 2D, and it just had this. They just looked kind of like they were just drawn like what? Yeah.
Huh.
I remember the show even said it was one of those things. It was one of those things like, this ain't no kids show. Brace Bannon just said hell.
Yeah, I haven't seen him say that.
There was an episode where he was in a coma the whole time. He woke up like, I think they changed his voice. 'Cause at some point he had kind of like a Texan accent. And he's all like.
Well, he does kind of have a sort of a. He has like it's like Robert Patrick. I guess Robert Patrick slightly has a southern accent, maybe.
He's like, "Yo, look like you just been to hell and back," or he said some line like that. It's just like, "This is a kid's show."
Johnny Quest is one of those ones like you can kind of get away with a lot of stuff in it because like parents are like Johnny. Of course, Johnny Quest. That was my show when I was a kid. Of course, my kid could watch Johnny Quest.
That's how my. And
it's one of those kind of shows like it's almost like a PG show in a sense, and it kind of works like that way because it's kind of like. It's not like, in a sense, for parents to be like, this is horrible for our kids. Because, you know, there's like, you're kind of learning lessons in it. Mm-hmm. It tells you about the world. There's a lot of kind of good stuff going on in Johnny Quest as far as if that was going to be a...
And to kill the gay rumors between Johnny and Haji, we threw in races like daughter.
Yeah, I know. One of the best parts is in the very first fucking episode. Like, Johnny and Haji are, like, upstairs or whatever, and, like I don't like a tree fort. No, maybe not a tree fort. But they're like upstairs, like in the attic or something. And they're like tied up with like their arms behind their back. And Haji's like, okay, Jonny, now you have to use your yoga skills to get out of this. Now, a true yogi can like get his way out of anything, and stuff. And he just like, puts his arms down around his legs and pulls himself around. He's like breaks free, and it comes back around obviously later in the episode.
Yeah.
And then like Johnny's just like, I just can't fucking do it. And then like Dr. Quest, Dr. Quest opens the fucking door, and like it must be the most awkward thing ever. It's like, your son and Haji up there. And oh, by the way, Haji's just wearing like a fucking like towel wrapped around, looking like a diaper around him.
That's what he's doing in the scene.
Yeah, he's wearing like that, and your boy's up there tied up.
Oh, you kids are at it again, aren't you?
It's just like one of those ones like...
It's the 90s. We accept this shit now. Back in the 60s, though, you be on the fucking street.
But, like, Haji's kind of like the character. He's kind of like the guy's like... He always gets sort of, like, left behind. Like, I'll watch the computer. Or I'll watch the control panel. Like, he's never, like, in the action very often.
He would once in a while go to Quest.
Except for when they go to space. They send Haji up there instead. Like, Johnny, you're not smart enough to go to space. We gotta send Haji.
Shocker there.
No. But, no, that show is... It's so good. Mm-hmm. It really is. It's one of those ones, like, it's a perfect example of, like, the many grand 90s shows. Mm-hmm. Really, it's Johnny Quest. I'm surprised they never made a live-action movie.
They were in the midst of it, and at one point in time, it was going to be Dwayne Johnson, The Rock, Race Bannon.
It's one of the ones. In general, I'd probably go like, what? But I like The Rock so much, and actually, The Rock I think could be Race Bannon. It would be just, it wouldn't have the right like look, as in like I just like that white hair look. I don't know what it is, but the way Race Bannon, I think he's one of the coolest looking characters in any show. Mm-hmm. And it's just like he's just simply just
red shirt,
blue pants, sometimes gray pants. White hair, and he's just kind of built, and he's just like the total action star.
Yeah. And the one thing, though, they backed away from this, though, and then they had Zac Efron as Johnny.
No.
Which he could be a good actor.
That could probably be fine. It's one of those ones like, I don't know, it's like, it's Johnny Quest.
He can be a good actor. I think he just gets an unknown for Johnny. But
yeah.
That movie got canceled. I think it's still kind of like just floating around.
Yeah, probably there's like a screenplay floating around or something for it. Somebody probably wants to do it.
Sometimes just kind of fucks. I mean, as a fan of things, I'm just kind of curious because it really kind of fucks with me sometimes. Like, there's a screenplay to this, and that. It's just not made. I just want to know what it is. There's a script to going back to this. There's a script to a live action Cowboy Bebop movie, and I just want to know what's in it. That's all. I'm just curious. It was written by the guy who's not Ben Affleck, who wrote The Town.
Oh, the guy who wrote it with Ben Affleck.
The guy who wrote it with Ben Affleck, which I really love The Town, so I'm curious to see what he has to put onto the Space Cowboys. But yeah,
that's pretty badass.
And there's also three or four other Batman scripts that were never made.
Yeah, they just kind of float around. It's like Kevin Smith's Superman scripts and so on.
There's what would be the fifth of the Joel Schumacher, Tim Burton franchise. There's two of those, two versions. Both have Scarecrow.
That's interesting.
There's one that was it was Scarecrow, and then working with what's his name, Man-Bat. Mm-hmm. And then there's one with Scarecrow working with Harley Quinn, who is actually supposed to be the daughter of the Joker. Huh. And then they're trying to get Jack Nicholson to come back in Scarecrow Venom hallucinations.
Oh, that's cool.
But that never happened. But whatever.
It's funny how those things are.
Curious.
Well, it's probably a good place to leave off at.
Yep.
So make sure to go to oldmanorange.com to check out everything Old Man Orange.
Write us an email.
Write us an email at oldmanorangepodcast@yahoo.com. Until then, I'm Spencer Scott Holmes.
I'm Ryan Dunigan.
And we will see you some other time.
See ya.